Dolls. What more is there to say apart from nope? Especially when they start moving on their own, which they might very well be doing when we aren't looking. So let's jump into these allegedly true haunted doll stories. Have you seen Sarah? When I was 8 years old in 1998, Christmas came and I was so excited, like most children my age. I received many gifts, including the most beautiful porcelain doll. She had very curly hair and wore a Christmas dress. She came with pretty wrapped gifts and a white stand. I named her Sarah. I would play with her daily and sleep with her at night. Then when summer came, I would place her in the stand on my desk while I played in the sun. I never wanted her to get dirty. One day I noticed that she would be in a different direction than what I left her in. I thought it was just my mother cleaning like she normally did. That continued for a little while, until she had started moving in other areas of my bedroom. I'd find her on the floor, beside my closet and under my bed. I became very scared of her and slept with a plastic yellow baseball bat. One day after school, I came up to my room and I found her under my covers in my bed. So I hit her with the bat and one of her eyes went inside her head. I placed her outside my bedroom door and went to join my family for dinner. They cleaned up and my older siblings left the house. So I ran upstairs to get the doll and tell my parents about her and what happened to her eye. But when I reached my bedroom door, she wasn't there. I went back down the steps to ask my parents if they had seen her. They both said no, and that she should be on my desk. So I continued back up and searched all the rooms upstairs, and then all the rest of the rooms downstairs, and then the garage, and all the trash. I've never seen that doll again. This is a true story. Have you seen my Sarah? Why I hate dolls. Out of all 8 grandkids, I was Grandma's second favourite grandchild, with my eldest cousin, who's also the boy, as her first favourite. My grandma worked in the US when I was born so that she could support my education, and every few months we'd receive a very large package from her. Those always contained books, colouring materials, school bags, shoes, toys, stuff that I need. My grandma always bought me different types of toys, from dolls to RC toy cars and skateboards and roller skates. I used to have a good collection of Barbie dolls, and those dolls that can sing. I never really played with them much as a kid, since I always preferred playing outside. When I was 8, my grandma came home from America to stay with us for 3 months. She bought me this doll. It was half my height at the time. She wore this beautiful white dress. Her hair was brown and wavy, and her eyes were blue. She also carried a baby in her arms. I was fascinated, especially when my grandma turned it on and it started to sing a lullaby. Fast forward a few months, the doll's baby went missing, and I stopped playing with the doll. I just put her in my toy cabinet. At first it was all normal, until one night I heard her sing. I turned on the light, then she stopped. I removed her batteries and went back to bed. The next week, I noticed that her eyes were following me whenever I walked across the room. I told my aunt. She said that it was probably my imagination. A few days passed. I turned 9. I was in a hurry because I was late for Sunday school. As I was going out of my room, my toy cabinet fell on me. Luckily, my bed was parallel to the cabinet, so it didn't crush me, nor did it hurt me at all. But as I looked up, I saw the doll looking straight at me, her arms outstretched, I managed to get the cabinet off me and I took the doll and burned it in the backyard. After that, I told my grandma to never give me dolls. An unexplainable vision of my doll. The only thing that will surely haunt me my entire life are dolls. I was talking to my mum recently, and apparently, ever since I was 1 or 2, I've always tried to stay away from dolls and would get uncomfortable around them. But it was when I was around 4 that I went through a trauma. My great-grandmother, not knowing any better, decides to get me a doll for my birthday. It stood up on its own, had brown hair, freckles, a dress, and very detailed blue eyes. It was very beautiful, but I was trembling at the sight of it already. My mum, for some unknown reason, decided to set it on the dresser that was across my room from our bed, and have it facing us. It was fine on the first 2 nights. The only thing is, I wouldn't sleep at all at night. There was just something about the way that the doll's eyes glimmered, even if it was pitch black outside. In the morning, I told my mum to put it somewhere where I'd never be able to find it. I told her to put it somewhere where I would never look in the first place, and it must be in a place where I can't reach nor see. So, she put it somewhere while I was in another room and came back, and I looked around everywhere for it and couldn't find it, so I told her to keep it where it was. That night, I went to sleep without any worries about a doll, and my mum slept a little better that night too. But in the middle of the night, I woke up to the sound of the doorknob to my room jiggling. I tensed up and waited, too scared to wake up my mum, who was sleeping next to me. The door opened, and standing there was my doll, looking at me. I looked straight into her eyes, and then I was suddenly not in the room anymore, but I was on top of the shelf of the closet that was next to our room, and there were folded towels in front of me. The closet was at an angle, so I could see our room, but the door was slightly cracked open and the doll wasn't standing there anymore. I blinked, and I was back in our room, but the doll wasn't there. I screamed bloody murder and shook my mum up, and my mum turned on all the lights, and I remember screaming, "The closet! The doll's in the closet! It's on the top shelf and all the way in the back!" My mum turned pale for a moment before getting up and opening the door of the closet, reaching up and grabbing the doll. We both were terrified, because she knew I could never make that up, because at the time, I was too short to even see that high up. So she put the doll in a bag and set it to the curb for the trash men to pick up in the morning. Neither of us rested easy that night. It's been years since this happened, but I'm still terrified of dolls. People often tease me about it, but they wouldn't be if they were in my position. My mum no longer feels comfortable around dolls as well. At least I wasn't alone when this happened, and I have somebody who believes me. Well, of course she would, because she was there. Still, I don't understand why that happened that night, or what it could possibly mean, but I know it wasn't a dream. I asked my mum if she still remembers, and she does. She remembers when I woke her up screaming, and about how uneasy we both felt. Neither of us will be able to look at dolls the same way again. Thank you for listening. I, for one, have never owned a doll, mostly for reasons just like this. But if you like what you heard, consider subscribing so you never miss a creepy story.